Hey everyone, Eggman here with another video, and today we have a double breakdown for you guys for two different Digimon events that happened around the world. We had this Ultimate Cup that happened in Latin America, as well as a regional that happened in Oceania, and this is a little bit different, but I wanted to do kind of a video just kind of comparing decks and archetypes in both formats, either an archetype that can kind of survive in one and not the other, or if a deck can survive in both formats, kind of the differences on how the builds work. So something a little bit more experimental. If you guys like this idea, it's pretty rare that we have both formats live at the same time, so I don't expect to have a lot of times to do this kind of thing. But if you guys just care about the deck list in general, they're all on my website, Eggman Events, which is linked in the description if you guys want to check those out. And let's just kind of jump on into this one. So starting off with the Latin American event, which was an Ultimate Cup again, we did have 4 yellow hybrids, 3 Mirage, 2 Belphi, 2 red hybrids, a Greymon, which is a black or gray build, a D-Reaper, Ulforce, Shinegrey, and Bloomlord, which was a 70-player event with 5 rounds of Swiss best of 3 here. And then also we do have the Oceania event, which again was the regular regional. So 4 Shinegrey, 3 Hunters, 2 red hybrids, 2 blue flares, a Royal Knight, Machine, Ulforce, Belphi, and a War Gray variant, which was 51 players with 5 rounds of Swiss best of 3. So I do think these two I think are the strongest archetypes, or at least from population density for this regular BT13 regionals that we have. Shinegrey is really good, and Hunters. But if you kind of look over at the Ultimate Cup 2, neither are really present. We did see 1 Shinegrey sneak into the top 16, but no Hunters, and that's not too surprising since I think it's a deck that can't really survive in the monocolor format. But we do have a good amount of yellow hybrid, which you will see has some similarities with some of the Shinegrey builds, which I think is interesting. And but to have 4 of them into the top 16 is also a bit irregular and a bit of a breakout performance for the archetype as well. So, but we have a lot of archetypes to cover. We're just going to jump on into it in general, and then we're going to start off with the Belphemon. So this is Morello's build from the Latin American Ultimate Cup, and we also do have kind of next to it, we did have a Belphemon for the Oceania event too. So this is Sol Knight's 14th place Belphemon from the regionals, and we will see like these decks are pretty similar. Zwart was a tech pick, I think, in some builds kind of earlier in the format, but that's mostly been a way for that. And we do see like in the regionals, we do have a little bit more of the Psychemon, even though it can hurt both you and your opponent. I think that is a strong pick for you. Both were running a lot of the same core cards, and with a deck like this, there are just like the Eismons are really popular. All your Gizmons in general, your top end, the Nidhogg to help you get there. There was also like the more unique pick for Mario as well, for the Keenan. So it has an on play, your opponents may trash 1 tamer card and an option card from their hand. If they don't, you get to gain a memory and draw a card. And also opponent's turn, when a Digimon is played by an effect, you get to suspend this to gain a memory. So obviously you can use that off the Ostamon inheritable effect to play a Digimon from your trash, which means that you get to gain a memory, and that's helpful for that too. So and potentially being able to get the on play effect, especially on like your opponent's turn, if this is hit on security, can be helpful for this one. And then also Sol's is a little bit, I'd say, less value based and more of just kind of like the straight combo, and only running like 3 copies of the Karuta there, running 2 copies of like Devimon, which I think only 1 for the other one. I'd say this is obviously the more textbook build for it, but then Morello's build here is a little bit more unique and has a little bit more extension just because of the kind of options that we have. We also have like the Porcupamon, which can delete a level 3 on play, so that you can play this off your Ostamon as well and get that extra advantage. So I wouldn't say like Belphemon is too different though between the two formats. I'm surprised that neither are playing any copies of Gazimon. I think that can be helpful as well, but I think both are strong. I think Belphemon is a bit of a unique deck, and it kind of comes in waves, and the fact that sometimes it shows up to events, sometimes it doesn't, but if it does show up to event, usually it's doing really, really well. So those are lists there. Congratulations to both of them for their finishes there. And next up, we're going to go into the red hybrid. So this is Gerardo, who got 14th place for the Ultimate Cup in Latin America. And I do think this deck is really good, but you do miss out on a couple of white cards to help get you there. But in the fact that this is a deck that does have a lot of pressure, it's faster than I think than average speed for what this format is. It does have like a high capacity of doing well. So I'd say like a lot of going like this build's pretty unique, or pretty understood in the fact that, you know, you just play all your red hybrid cards. There's a couple tech choices of like the Solarmon, and also like the Gravity Crush and Crimson Blaze if you need that extension. But, you know, 8 of your Tamers make sense. You know, a lot of your big boys, and just kind of going for there. And then if we look at the regional one, so this is Leighton's build, who got first place at the event, so they went 5-0 with it. There's a little bit more creativity in the cards you're able to use, including like you know, the Omnimon, and also the Bokomon and the Nemon. I think these are some really good support cards. I know there are only 3 cards into the deck, but being able to use the Omnimon to get that one more attack for game if you need to. Bokomon being able to help you get some extension in your plays and find some more Tamers, which is really good. And also the Nemon, you can play 1 Tamer card with an inherit effect from your hand without paying its memory cost. And all turns, once return one your Digimon with a Tamer card in its sources is deleted, you can play 1 Tamer from your trash. So being able to get the recycling from this one as well. Both of these, either like these gain memory so you can extend your plays, or these help recycle your Tamers. I think both are very, very good. Otherwise, just kind of the same we see. We also see 1 copies of the Marsmon, which I do like the idea of this having like a raid effect, you know, and the blitz and stuff. So, and then your turn, once per turn, when one of your Digimon attacks target is switched, you can unsuspend this Digimon, gain 1 memory for each red Tamer you have in play. And this will have a good amount of red Tamers in play too, since it's your prerogative to play them. So I do like this Marsmon, and it's a cute little tech there. I feel like the old Emperor Greymon you have to run because it's a red hybrid, and just to help keep your ratios right, but it doesn't, I feel, do as much at times. So I do like the 1-1 split there. So there's Leighton's build there on the red hybrid. And then moving on to the Shine. So here's the Ultimate Cup build, and again, like, this is Ultimate Cup format, so a couple things. One, they all have to be the same color, but also we do have this Marcus at 1 copy, the BT12 one, which again, this one's very good for you, being able to attack with it, but also you know, go up your chain for pretty much free is a really big boon for the archetype. So limiting it to 1 in this format, I think, makes sense. So to kind of go for, I know there is like another Marcus you can run if you want to. It is red, so you would have to be playing a red build, and this is a yellow build for it. But I think the TK and Kari is fine for what it is, and we do see a little bit more of like the traditional Rise Gray. So we have like the 1 BT12 one and the Rise Greymon X, which also lets you play the TK and Kari, which is really nice for you. And there's kind of more of what we see. It's a little bit more of like some hybrid stuff too, because we do have like 1 Kaustinen. We also have the Kudamon as well. So on play, reveal top 3 cards of your deck, add 1 yellow Digimon with vaccine in its trait, and 1 yellow Tamer card, and then place the rest of your bottom of your deck in any order. So there is kind of that extra searching for Tamers, which is important when you have to run a little bit less. So I think that's good for you too. So more or less than what we've been seeing, a little bit more in the variety in your Shines. Only 2 copies of the Burst mode, and we also have 1 copy of the Ruin mode, which I do think this is helpful for. But we also play 2 copies of Venusmon as well, which is a bit of a surprise pick for me. It does help you like turn off some of your opponent's effects. If you're worried about losing the next turn, this can help you buy like another turn, which is nice. But a really interesting pick for this one. We will see it as well in some of the yellow hybrids builds, but I think Venusmon is a pretty solid card right now, and it's been getting a lot of use in a lot of different decks as just kind of a way to prevent your opponent from doing anything for a turn. It's a good stall card for that. So this is Kevin's list here for, again, the Ultimate Cup, and then going into the regionals build. So this is Aiden's for the second place for the Oceania regionals, and you will see like a lot of the ratios are kind of similar for this. We do have 2 copies of the Burst mode, 1 copy of the Ruin mode. We have 4-2 split here, which I think was in the it's a 1-3 split. Oh, that's right, because you're running the Venusmon. Yeah, no Venusmon in this one. This one is monocolored too, which is really interesting. It's just the big difference is that you can run 4 of this Marcus in this build and not in the Ultimate Cup due to their own restrictions for it. But I don't have a lot to say about I'd say traditional regionals Shinegrey. It's more or less kind of figured out at this point. You do have like a little room for some options or tech choices you want, but a lot of the archetype is pretty understood for the pieces that are in it. So this is Aiden's list for the regular regionals here. And then we also are going to talk about quickly the yellow hybrid, because I do think it has a lot of similarities with the Rise Gray and Shinegrey builds. It is not as aggressive. It's a little bit more value based and control heavy, but you will see a lot of the similar techs and cards. So for example, we have like the Rise Greymons, we do have like the Kaustinen. We also play the Geo Greymon, which is really nice for helping you find your additional pieces there. We do have like the Agumon here, which if you have red or yellow tamer in play, you get to gain memory at the start of your main phase, which helps you go into like your rapid mons, keep your turn R again, your Geo Greys. A couple of your disruption rookies in like the Belphemon. Players can't play Digimons by effect in general. Lotmon being able to like control your life a little bit. Kudamon, which we already kind of talked about, and then just a top end into like the Venusmon. We have like Kintarismon as well, which lets you get some additional security or like another attack with it, which is cool, and then a good amount of tamers. So I do like Yellow Hybrid. There's a bunch of other builds that I highly recommend you guys check out from the Latin American event, but it's always been a favorite of mine. I know that like Jet Sophie being at 1 does hurt the deck a lot, and again, like kind of how Alphamon did get like the Duro Gray just to help you fill your slot out. I think if we had something like this that was just way worse, it'd be very strong for the deck and maybe it'd be more consistent. But that is the build here. Congratulations to Juan for their second place with Yellow Hybrid. And then moving on to kind of like I think this is like my blue block. Yeah, we have like a good amount of blue decks. Not all of them were like on either or, but we do we will start off with the Ulforce, which did get Ulforce was in both the regionals and the Ultimate Cup. So this is Gustavo's build for the Ultimate Cup. But you will, like, I will say, like the two decks are very, very similar between the Ultimate Cup and the regional. Only big difference is the one of Omnimon, right? You do have to be careful about this deck against Quartzmon, which I don't think as many people were on Bloomlord. I think Bloomlord can be a really tricky matchup for this deck in general, but this is a moderately fast deck for a format that is a little bit slower in Ultimate Cup, so you are kind of afforded a couple, like an extra turn at times, or to get your effects off. We do see like some unique picks like this BT2 Aandroidd, which I haven't seen in a hot minute, but being able to unsuspend one of your blue Digimon when digivolving, including itself, is good. I think it's, you don't have as much jamming because, like originally you'd have like these jamming attacks. You swing, you'd go into, all Aandroidd, you get to restand it. But your level 4s are probably not swinging as much in this build, so I do think it's a little bit interesting. It does have an inherent effect of having jamming if it becomes unsuspended, so that can be helpful for you. Maybe not as good as like Security Attack +1 or this, but jamming can kind of checkmate a lot of situations as well. So, but otherwise than that, just your assortment of tamers. We're running 12 of these real quick in the Matt and Swear at 1, which we also have for Connor's build. Pretty much the same, but we're running 12, but more of a 4-4-3-1 split compared to a 4-2-3-1-2 split as well. So, and kind of jumping into Connor's list also, I'd say this is more traditional to what we usually see. I'm really surprised they like the Star Deck 8 Aandroidd a little bit more. I do kind of like the BT level, and even if you don't hit anything, just being able to have a way to unsuspend it is really great. Both decks are playing the Great Maelstrom, which we see. We also do see the Full Moon Meteor Impact, though, for Gustavo, so being able to return one and then get the memory back for every 4 in your opponent's hand is great. Obviously, this is a Mirage tech, but it does really work for this deck, and I do think like Mirage and Ulforce have a lot of similarities compared to each other at the same time. So we're just going to jump into Mirage as well. So this is Angel Forces. This is for the Ultimate Cup, and I think a lot of people think that Mirage is like has a breakout performance in these Ultimate Cups. Some of the ones that we've already covered on this channel, Mirage does take a big slice of this pie, and for the Ultimate Cup for this one, it did, it was the second most popular one for the event, so it was pretty strong for that. And you will be able to see a couple builds, but I don't think it was as aggressively oppressive as it was the last couple events we've seen. So, but there are, a couple decision points. I do think it's a very strong deck. I think the burst mode is great. I think, again, with it being a little bit slower in the format, you do, you are afforded to have like another turn for searching. I think, this deck needs kind of the trading options to be a little bit more viable. The blue memory boosts are good, but the fact that these can't find tamers really do hurt a tamer-based deck like this one and Ulforce as well. But I do like the deck. I do like Mirage Galgamon. I think this is a very solid card for a lot of decks, not just this one. And the burst mode, if you're able to get it off, has some good utility as well. So this is Angel's list for this one. And then also we're going to jump into Blue Flare, which I'm really surprised no Blue Flares topped in the Ultimate Cup format. This is Tim's from the regionals who got 4th place with it. Obviously, this is a regionals build since we are playing 2 copies of the Metal Gray X and the Greymon with the Security Attack +1. So definitely a little bit more of like the aggressive version version. And most people I've been talking to and have been finding success with Blue Flare is that they've just been really, really hyper aggressive with the deck, just kind of getting like the swings when they can. This obviously is like a bit of a like stun deck and kind of like I'd say tempo maybe, but the fact that you're able to, get a lot of these swings out of nothing, you do get a lot of advantage from the Digi-crossing, which is great, and there are a lot of good plays for this deck too. And again, like it's been out for a really long time at this point, but EX4 was really great for this archetype, by just having a couple different names that can be in the same slots to help you out on your Metal Greymons, your Greymons, and your Metal Bergermons is really all the deck needed to have the consistency that we see here today. So not much more to say from it. We've seen Blue Flare for a long time, and congratulations to Tim for their finish there. Jumping into the Greymon builds, we have two. We have this one from the Latin American Ultimate Cup, and then also Sean's build from the regionals. This is Sebastian's build here, and this is like, I don't know what it is. I don't know why this works off way more often, but most of the black or gray X builds that I've been seeing in Ultimate Cups, they're usually like, there's success towards the ones that play the Ragna and the Dorbeckmon. And real quick, if you guys don't know the combo with it, you can play Dorbeckmon on your turn. A lot of your cards in this archetype already meet the conditions for the Digicross with it. So you just put them all underneath it, and then afterwards you can either naturally have enough memory, since you can play this for 3, and we do have like a memory setter tie and also the red mem boost and stuff, but we also have Flame Dramon, which you can put underneath since it's a Dragonkin, and then also at the end of your turn you get to do your DNA into Ragna if you want to. So this one I'd say is a little bit less cheese since we're only running one copy of each, but the extension that both of these have are very strong, and having a level 7 in this format is strong, is a bit unique for some decks, because a lot of them are usually like white, which means that most decks can't digivolve into them. So being able to have that online is pretty good. So, but I do like the idea of it, the having this combo centered, and like this can just win the game on the spot if you're able to go into it, which is not too terribly difficult, especially since we have 3 red mem boosts, 2 of the red ties, and also the Gravity Crush to help you. If you need like one more card, you do get that extra bonus for you. So. And other than that, we do have a good amount of our Agumons, Agu X's, and just a lot of cycle to get up to our big pieces. So obviously Black or Gray X is a little bit worse, or at least in this format, since we don't have Antibody or the Cool Boy access to us, since they are white cards. But the whole thing is, I don't know, like the big thing we're really missing is Greymon X from BT11, but the Greymon X from BT9 does have a good amount of protection as long as you have multiple sources for you. So this is Sebastian's list, and then looking at Sean's list, who got 15th with this War Gray for the regionals. It's kind of like a bit of some of the ratios are a little bit interesting from my point of view. Again, we're not playing any copies of Cool Boy. We're only playing 1 copy of War Gray X, but we are playing like 2 copies of X Antibody, which I guess is for what, like the Metal Gray X are digivolving into. It's a little peculiar in my mind, since the only thing you can digivolve up into is like the War Gray X, but again, we're only running 1 copy of it. It can be used to help get like a reduced cost for our Hades Force as well, which Hades Force does do some things in this format, but not, I'd say, I think like I guess it is the regular regional, so that's for it. But it's weird to not have Cool Boy in this deck if you're playing as much Antibody at times. But if you're playing like more of the aggressive, since we are playing 4 copies as tie, we have the other tie from BT1, so it's fine. We also have like the Breath of the Gods, which is a bit of a tech choice. I'd say this is a little bit of cheese as well, because it does mean you do, if you hit insecurity, stop it, but being able to give something can't have its DP reduced or return to deck or hand, as well as the reboot, I think is good. And you do draw a lot in this deck, so you can afford to have a couple of these clunky cards at times too. So, but this is Sean's list for the War Gray build. We have a couple builds after this. Most of them are a little bit centered to either one format or the other. So we're going to start off with Carlos's 4th place D Reaper, and we did see D Reaper get a top for one of the Ultimate Cups here in North America already. And this is running a couple more searches. I think the other one is running like 18, but there's not a lot of deck building choice for the D Reaper as it is, especially in the Ultimate Cup, since you have to play pretty much only white cards, and a lot of the white cards are not as flexible as they should be at times. But being able to have like a 1-drop that you can draw cards with, having kind of like a game condition that you're like putting your opponent on a clock is great. And I do think there are slower decks in the Ultimate Cups in comparison. We also do have the Manoa, which is only just a memory setter for us, which is fine. We do sometimes have memory issues in this deck, so being able to have that outright, I think, is strong. But again, like there are a lot of decks that don't inherently give security attack +1. Decks outside of like Greymon don't really have a way to get rid of Mother D Reaper either. And if you're able to get up like the Mother and the Gatekeeper, you can stall out a lot of decks, I feel like, as well. So until you get to your Reaper and you're able to kind of OTK with it, especially since security control is not as big of a thing, this Reaper has a lot more success of getting to the hitting every time and going through it. So, but this is the list for Carlos. I don't have much more, but congratulations for that there. I think this is more Ultimate Cup, and I don't think D Reaper has as much of a chance in regionals, but I've been wrong before and stuff like that. But looking at this Bloomlord, so this is a Vicente's list again for Ultimate Cup. I think this is like, I don't know, Green's done moderately well in the Ultimate Cups in the past. We did get the extra restriction for them with the Hidden Potential gone, and Hydromon's also only at 1 in this format too, so you don't have as much access for this, but we did have a whole new line for BT13 for us, including like a new tamer that kind of rivals Mimi a little bit in Yoshino. Being able to get the additional, memory reduction for a lot of your Digivolves are very good for you. And having a really strong level 7, Quartzmon is, again, like a very good boss monster. It is green, too, which means you can play it in this deck in Ultimate Cup, which is great. And there are some decks that just can't answer this very easily, too. So being able to play this and go into it is a checkmate in a good amount of situations, which is really nice. So I don't have much more to say about this. I think Bloomlord is good. I think it's probably better in this format than the regional format, but it can top in either. It's probably like in between like tier 1.5 and 2 in my mind. It does have a lot of good picks, and it can really go off, but sometimes it has some kind of skewed matchups which make it kind of tough. But this is Vincent's list there. And then our last one, this is actually our last 3, but we have Machinedramon here, which I would say got pretty popular when the Ultimate Cup format started. It was the control deck to really out-control a lot of others. The worst matchup for Machinedramon is Hunters if you don't play around their, or respect their removal with the superior mode. But this deck is, I think, usually pretty nasty in the Ultimate Cups, but it did get another restriction in the sense that Analog Man was restricted to 1, which is kind of one of the better cards for this one. Not only like the cycling for it, but just the redirect for this was very, very strong. So this being restricted in Ultimate Cup means I don't think as many people are on the deck, or at least not finding as much success with it. But it does kind of pop up still here in this regionals format, as we can tell, because we do have some mono red cards in this one. But it's been sticking around. I do like Machinedramon. I do think it's a little clunky at times, and if you're able to set up, though, there are decks that just have like a really hard time answering it, which is really interesting. And again, like 4 Analog Man are very, very strong. So I do think that without them in the Ultimate Cup format, it can be a little bit tough for this deck to set up. Or the control aspect is a lot worse because at least the most redirects you have is 1. I know like there are some matches, like if you see like 3 of these Analog Mans, you probably just lose. So even if you see 2, like 2 redirects every turn is a little bit tricky for you. But this list here for Mirage on Machinedramon in the regionals, and our last 2 decks are ones that have to be regionals because they are just so focused on having multiple colors in the deck that I don't think they could work in any way in the Ultimate Cup format. So we have Nick Lowe's for Royal Knights, which part of the reason I have a little bit of an issue enjoying the Ultimate Cup format is 2 of my favorite decks to play are Royal Knights and Hunters. So it's a little bit trickier for me to, again, like I really do like these decks. So not being able to play them at all in the Ultimate Cup format is a little unfortunate, but I do kind of understand for it. But I do like Royal Knights and the fact that it is a bit of a pick and choose a lot of your own pieces for it. We do have like your choices. Like Dynaspawn, I think is a 4 of. I think Magnamon as well, since it's like a low cost. I do like the Gankumon. I normally like my more recent builds run a lot more of the Sistermons. They get a lot of value off the Gankumons and just kind of everything else, and help you find like some pieces consistency. Porcupamon, especially since I think a lot of people are playing like Psychmons and those kind of blocks for you having your cheaper on plays. 2 copies of Marcus, which I do like the Marcus for this deck, being able to be a memory setter, but also again getting rid of some rookies that can kind of foil our plays. I do also like the one of Examon. I don't like this Examon as much, but this EX3 one is very good in this deck. If you're able to put it underneath your egg and being able to like pop it out, you're able to get 2 attacks and like swing 1 into security of a 15k, restand, you get to suspend one of your opponent's cards and then attack into it, which Both effects are very good. It pressures down your opponent. There are some like non-trivial times where you have like an Ulforce out and a Leopardmon out, and then you're able to use the DNA into Examon as well. So I think that's cool. But yeah, there's not like a lot of variety. There is like a variety in the ratios that you choose for this deck, and I'm happy to see that still topping in regional. So this is Nick's build, and to wrap it up, we have Alice's 12th place Hunters, and I really don't have anything to say about this except for Hunters is still really good in BT13. The builds that you have are pretty similar in a lot of ways because again we pretty much just have these hunter builds for at least this half of the hunters, and it's just something that you have to respect. I do think like a really good hunters players can find their ways out. Superior mode can make a lot of situations that are unwinnable winnable, which is insane that something like a single card like that can do that, and I think the deck is very good. And then if your opponent's not playing any kind of tamer destruction or tamer hate, then you can really get away with a lot of stuff. So this is the list for Alice here, and that's going to be this video. I know this is like a little bit longer, but it's a little bit more in depth. But a lot of these deck lists were more of just kind of brushing over the top of them as we went through them. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video, enjoyed the breakdown. Let me know what your thoughts are. We do have a couple more Ultimate Cups left, and then we do have October, which is I think mostly, if not only, regionals, which is exciting, as well as like the new cards from the reprint booster and just everything else for it. So that's going to be it for me. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you all next time.